If you weren't, oh, okay. If you weren't here last time, my name is Emily. I'm gonna be the instructor for this class, and I'm currently a CS major at UMD. So, if you weren't here last class, because I think some of the people here might not have been here last class, um, we reviewed some slides, and then like for homework, we had this as the homework, which was basically reviewing like the like file like input output kind of stuff, and then like just like there's like three different methods. You use like the scanner, the buffered reader, or the console. So we just like last time we reviewed that. And then for homework, this is what we did. So I think the first thing I'm gonna do is probably go over the homework. So I think there were some people who did do the homework. So I think someone did have a question. I saw like they didn't know how to get the next int, or like how to like get an integer for, because you need a number for this to like do the loop. So I'm just gonna show you guys how. Okay. Okay, so shoot. Okay. So okay, so the first thing is said is that you want to get the input of the user like a number. So I'm gonna use the scanner method. So I'm gonna make a scanner object. And it's important that when you make the scanner object, you want to put system.in in the parentheses, because you want the input. So okay, so then next I'm gonna make an int variable. So I'll call it like x or something. I'll do like, and then if we run this, wait, my console is actually on the right. Oh wait, I actually have to like have a word like, you could just like write anything, like maybe like enter a number. So it's gonna prompt the user to enter a number. So I'm gonna enter 4. Right now, it doesn't actually do anything because I haven't like put any code under it, but this is just like how to get it to like take a number from the user. Because I don't know who it was, but someone had a question about that. When you want to like get an integer, then just do like next int. So next int would be taking integer. There's also like next double, next line. Those are like all different things depending on what like type of input you want. So yeah. And then after that, so we have x. So the prompt was saying okay, so yeah, you see after you ask the user type in a number, you want to get the input, then you want to loop from 0 to the input value, and then print all numbers from 0 to that input value. So we should do a for loop for this. So you see, so the boundaries here, like the condition is that we're first gonna have I equal to 0. So it's gonna start from 0. That's where the loop is starting. But then like the condition is that when I is less than or equal to x, so whatever the number x is, as long as I is less than or equal to x, this loop will run. And then each time I just increments by 1. So it should not be I is less than x, because that was stop 1 before like x. And I'm pretty sure this is asking to print 0 to the input value. So we have to do it to less than or equal to x. So then I'll just do like system.out.print, and then just print I. I'm pretty sure that worked. So let's say we enter 4, and then we see here it prints 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is correct. Because it's asking you to print from 0 to that input number included. So the important thing to remember here is that for the for loop, you wanted to stop at the number. So you can't do the normal like I is less than x. It has to be I is less than or equal to, or you could just do I is less than x plus 1, but like either one works. You just want to print from 0 to the actual number. And then For this, just remember that when you want to get the integer input, like just do like sc like scanner.nextInt. And I can paste this code if anyone wants it, if they still want to look at it. So I'll just paste it in the chat. So I think last time, if anyone has any questions about the homework, just tell me in text chat or unmute yourself. But otherwise, if no one has any questions, I'm just gonna move on. Okay, so I think we did go over this last time. I pretty much went through these slides. And I don't think we have to pay too much attention to this file reader right now because like that, I feel like we should focus more on like being like getting used to the scanner class and like the buffered reader before we like do all this file reading stuff, because some of you might not understand yet like how to do this. It might be like kind of confusing. So I think I'm just gonna review like some of the stuff we went over last time first, just to like refresh everyone, because you guys might have forgotten some of this stuff, especially if you weren't here last time. So we were basically like going over user inputs and user, there's different ways. Like first there's a scanner class that you can use. That's the most common way to get user input. And the scanner class, it just hooks up to the keyboard. So whatever you type in just like gets put in basically. And these are like the different methods or like ways to like get some sort of like input. So if you want like a double would just be like, as an example, I would just say like a decimal, the same thing as float. So if you want some sort of like decimal number, you should use like double or float. And then just for like your standard integers, like whole numbers, just use like next int. And then usually when you want like a string, you use next line. And then a long, if you guys know what these are, a long is it's like a, it's a primitive, but like, I'm not really sure if all of you know what these are. So maybe I should go over these. So basically a short is like, so basically there's things called bits and bytes in most languages. Like Java has, so 1 byte has 8 bits. So that's how like they store these like numbers basically. So I believe, yeah, a double has the most like bits in it. I'm pretty sure is like 8 bytes or something like that. Float is like up next. So the order is doubles the biggest, float is the second biggest. And then long is the third biggest. And then int is like the fourth biggest. And then it's short and then it's byte. So byte is the smallest. Byte is 1 byte. It takes 1 byte of memory to store it. And then short is like 2, I'm pretty sure. So this is just depending on how big your number is, like then you like would choose from these, but we're not like, you guys probably aren't gonna like have to worry about that. So usually you just use like int or something. And then a Boolean is just like true or false. So it's 1 byte of storage. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for that. If you have any questions about these, just let me know, but otherwise, yeah. So yeah, the scanner class. So I'm not exactly sure if you guys know what objects are completely yet. You don't really need to understand that fully for now. Just memorize the syntax. So when you want to get use the scanner, you have to first make this like object. You have to first like call like the scanner class like this. So you just have to type scanner and then like you can name this whatever you want. And then you have to say like new scanner. And then you also have to put system.in in it. So this is the syntax for using the scanner class. And then when you want to get some data, like a string, for example, you have to say like string s equals the next line. You can't just say like, you have to use these specific syntax. So if you want an integer, it'd be like int s equals int.next int. So depending on like the type that you're trying to get, then you have to like do that accordingly. You can't like, you have to like use a specific type. You have to specify the type. And then this is just the syntax for printing a statement. So just like system.out.println. ln means new line. It just like adds a new line after. And then it's gonna say you entered and then the string that we got from the input. And then the same thing here, it's
에러
gonna,
나타나.
oh, hello.
Sorry.
Oh, okay, sorry. So then if you want an integer, same thing, you have to say int a. You can't like, it has to be specified for Java to say int a and then equals in dot next int. So you can't use next line for that. It should be next int. And then same thing goes for here. Float, like floating point number, you have to use next flow, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you ever like forget the exact like methods, like next stuff, then you can just like search it up. So yeah. And then I'm pretty sure to get user input. I think that we did something like this last time. I don't want to spend too much time on this because we do need to start moving on to new content. But yeah. Oh yeah, I think we did do something like this. So you guys said, I think like a class like 2 weeks ago, you guys already practiced this, so I don't think I should go over this again. And then there's also other methods like buffered reader, which uses a character input stream. Syntax is different. So you need to, as usual, you still have to make a buffered reader object. You always have to make an object of the class first. So once you've made that object, then the syntax is just different from the scanner one. You say new input stream reader, and then but you also use system.in. And then the buffered reader has slightly different syntax. It's just like if you want a string, it's like read line, which is different than the next line from the scanner. And yeah. And the scanner is normally used when we know input is like the string or primitive types, and buffered reader is usually just to read text from character strings. And these are just some more like facts about both of them, but we don't have to get too into this because you can probably just search this up and get like a diagram of the main differences. But scanner is not synchronous and buffer reader is synchronous. And I think scanner has little buffer, and then the buffer reader as you just has larger buffer. Scanner is also a little bit slower, but the buffer reader is faster. And then yeah, buffer reader just has methods with like different names. And there's also a third method using the console, but I don't think most people are going to use that. So I'm not going to really go over it because I feel like the scanner is probably the one that you guys would use the most because right now it probably has the easiest syntax to remember. So now we're going to start going on to the next. Oh yeah, no, not this one. We're going to start going on to the next lesson. So this is going to be about exceptions. But before we do that, we're going to review. So the question is, what is the main difference between scanner and buffered reader? Well, I think there's a lot of different answers to this question, but I'll give a few minutes for you guys to just like text in the chat. Like, what do you think the answer? What do you think is the main difference between the scanner class and the buffered reader class? So some of the answers I'm seeing so far are pretty good. I think everyone is yeah, you guys are all right. Like there's these are all differences. So I feel like this question is kind of subjective because there's like several differences. I do agree with Lucas. The buffered reader is probably a little bit more complicated, like just to remember the syntax and everything. And it uses like it reads from a character stream. And then Aiden is right as well. The syntax is different. Oh yeah, and Lucas is also right. The buffered reader is a little bit faster. So the scanner is a little bit slower. And I'll give probably like another minute or two to answer this question. We already have like 2 people who answered with pretty good answers. So it'd be pretty good if everyone else would like give it a try, but Okay, yeah, so I think that I'm not gonna spend too long on this question because it's just like a simple question. So the main differences I would say is that the buffer reader is reading from like a character stream, which is a difference. The scanner is probably a little bit slower. I would say the syntax for the buffer reader is probably a bit more complicated to remember. And then also like usually you want to use a scanner if you know what the type is. Like if you know it's going to be like a string or like an int or a long, but like the buffer reader just reads it like line by line. So like that's like generally if you're just trying to read text by line. So if anyone has any questions about that, you can type in chat, but otherwise I'm probably gonna just move on to the next slide. Okay, so this is about exceptions, I'm pretty sure. It's saying please input ABC when you run this following code. Okay, so I think it's just like, oh, it's saying to run and see what happens. Okay. Run and see what happens. Run to issue. Oh, okay. Okay, this is because you're trying to put in like a string and this is not asking for a string. So we're just gonna test out what happens right here. Okay, I mean, I'm just gonna try to see what happens when we run this. Oh, shit. I think I just, oh, my bad. Okay, I forgot I deleted the main method by accident. Okay, so we're gonna enter ABC, which is not a number, and then it throws an exception. So basically the exception is an input mismatch exception. So basically what that means is just that it was expecting an integer, but we put in a string, so that's why. So it threw this input mismatch exception. And it's pretty self-explanatory. But oh, okay, so yeah, that throws an exception, and then they're also saying to try this code, which is int 6 equals 0, 6 divided by 0, and I think I know what this is gonna throw, but wait. Yeah, so through it says arithmetic exception because you can't divide by 0, so it just throws an arithmetic exception. So just remember you can't divide by 0, and it'll just throw an exception. So trying the next piece of code. And then this one should also throw an exception. I think this is gonna have to do with like the index. Okay, I should probably move this over here. So it throws an index out of bounds exception. So basically, because it's an array, so the index thing is like it starts at 0, remember? So it's 0, 1, 2. The index, this is 0, this is index 1, this is index 2. When you try to get the 10th index, it doesn't work. It tries to search, but it can't find it because the index is out of bounds. Like there are not 10 indexes in this array, so that's why it throws an exception. Yeah, that's why it throws that exception. So just remember you can't you can't get an index that just like doesn't exist in the array. So basically, exceptions can happen anywhere in our applications. So an application can face varied issue when it executes the code. When a problem occurs while it executes the code, that's a runtime error. But like a compile time error would be like if before it even ran, like it already knew there's a problem. Like, so there's like compile time, runtime. Runtime is like when it's running, it comes up, like a problem comes up, and then compile time is just like when it's like compiling, like before it runs, there's like a problem. So then it's saying, how do we handle it? So there's basically in Java, you can use like try catch blocks. So this is for like usually you want to use try catch blocks for unchecked exceptions, I'm pretty sure. Because like checked exceptions, like the JVM will usually handle it for you, even if you don't like use some way of dealing with it. But for like unchecked exceptions, like the exceptions, like when you like, I don't know how to explain it, but like you need to use a try catch block or like some sort of thing like the throws declaration to like, otherwise it doesn't work. Like you need to like either use try catch block or like the throws declaration. So this is just an example, like for example, how it works is like this first block is a try block. So it's gonna like try out this code, and then if it raises an exception, it's gonna look in this catch block. So let's just like read through this code like line by line first. First line is saying they just instantiated a buffered reader object, so they made a new buffered reader, and it's called reader. And then this seems right, so they're just like, that's just the syntax for having like the buffered reader, and then like it just says system.in, so that's right. And then it says please enter your name here, and then yeah, it's supposed to throw an exception, but like it basically is getting a string name, and then it's like getting the name of the reader, and it should be getting the reading the line, and then it should print out your name is, and then post the name. This is a photo, but like, so basically what it does is this here is a try block. So then like it's gonna try this code, and then if it raises an exception, it's gonna go to the next catch block to see if that, like if this is a exception it can catch. If not, like you have multiple catch blocks. So then if it isn't in this one, if there's another catch block, it'll look in that. But if it couldn't catch the exception, then like it's just like that would be bad. But like you usually want to have like a catch block that like has the exact exception that you're trying to catch. So like yeah, and there can also be a finally block. So the finally block is after all the catches, and it executes no matter what. So even if it doesn't find a catch block with the exception it's looking for, the finally block always executes. And the catch block always has to be after the try block. So the syntax is try, catch, and then finally. But you don't also you don't need a finally block, but you do usually need a catch block, because otherwise, yeah, it's always like try, catch, and then if you want finally. So it finally is executed even if an exception is not handled. Throw keyword is used to throw an exception, and throws keyword is to declare exceptions. So it doesn't throw an exception. It specifies that there may occur an exception in the method that you're about to like go through, and it's in the like top, the method signature. Like when it says like something like throws IO exception, that's how you would use it basically. Okay, so Java uses try catch finally syntax to test the section of code. That's basically what I just said. And if the exception occurs in that region, then it traps the error. And then any number of catches can be set up. So you can use like more than one catch block. Doesn't have to be one. And then a try block must always have a catch block or a finally to like go with it though. So I think it's just like an example. So you like try, and then you put like your statements here that you think are gonna like raise an exception, and then you catch that here. So if it raises exception, and then it checks, it looks at this catch block first. If it has the exception, it executes this. If not, it goes to the next catch block, checks the exception, and if it does have it, then it'll execute that, and then finally it runs no matter what. So after all this, it's gonna run the finally block, even if it didn't catch any exceptions. Yeah, that's pretty much what I just said, but the computer is gonna try the try block first, then catch if it finds an exception. And then if the exception in the catch block matches the exception that it raised, then it'll just execute the stuff in that catch block. Yeah, pretty much. So, oh yeah, so file not found exception is like an example of an IO exception. So the file just like doesn't exist or something. The IO exception because it's a child. So our handler will catch those exceptions that are missed by individual child handlers. And a generic handler for exception would cover any missing situation. So this is just another example. So we have a file object, and then it's a new file input. Oh, it's a new file input stream, and they put the file name. So then they have, oh, I think this is pseudocode, but okay. So then they're like, this is just a try block. And then if, for example, like the file was like just doesn't exist in your directory or something, then like it would like raise a file not found exception, and then it would like go in this catch block first, see if it matches. If it does matches, like here it says file not found exception, then it's gonna execute this code. It's gonna say like f.print stack trace, and then like it's just gonna return. And then after that, otherwise, if it's like an IO exception, it's catch block. So here it's like, first you're gonna try having an array, like an integer array of like these numbers. And then they're gonna try to print out the 10th index in this array. Of course, the 10th index does not exist. There's only 0, 1, 2. There's only 3 indexes in this array, which is 0, 1, and 2. So it should raise some sort of like array index out of bounds exception. So it's gonna look in this catch block, and this is just like a general exception name. So it's just gonna look at that and it's gonna print this. You can try this out as well in Eclipse. Yeah, so basically before, like when we first tried it, we didn't have this try catch block. So we just got an exception raised here. But then like now we actually like caught the exception. So like that's why I print out an exception. So if anyone has any questions about that, please let me know, because it might be a little bit confusing at first, I think, but if you have any questions, just like tell me or like type in chat. Okay, so I think we can try this exercise. It's basically saying write Java code to get the user input. So you can use like the scanner class. I would just use that because it's probably the easiest. And then we can convert the input to a number. So, I mean, you don't really need to convert it. Just use a scanner class and then like, oh, okay. And then convert the input to a number. If the input is not a number, print out the string. It is not a valid input. So basically you're writing code. I would use a scanner class, just like ask for an integer. And then if what the person puts in is not an integer, then you have to basically print out this string. It is not a valid input. So there's actually probably like multiple ways to do this, but like I think they're just asking for the way to do it with like a try catch block. So I don't know if you guys think this is a bit difficult, but I'll probably give at least like 5 minutes to do this if you guys want to try it out. And if you have any questions, please let me know. But otherwise, you guys can get started on this. And when you're done, just like type in chat or like paste your code into the chat. And then I'll go over it after like 5 or 6 minutes. Okay, so also what I was saying earlier, I think I got mixed up. So basically unchecked exceptions, they're like optional. You can just like the program, like the computer itself can handle it, but like checked exceptions you do have to handle. So checked exceptions is what we're doing right now. Basically, we're using the try catch block for checked exceptions, but unchecked exceptions, like you're not required to handle. The JVM can do it for you. For example, a checked exception would be like a runtime exception. So like basically what we've been saying so far, like IO exceptions, like that kind of stuff. And then like there's two ways actually. Right now we're doing try catch, but there's also you can handle another method with like using the throws declaration and stuff. But for now we're just doing try catch. So yeah. You can use a function to determine, but like, I don't think that's necessary. Because in this case, they're basically trying to get you to practice try catch block. So like, they want you to do like try and then like do the code and then after catch like an exception. So you basically have to like think of what exception would happen if you like put in the wrong input. And then you have to like catch that exception. But you can try it a different way if you want, because I am kind of curious to see, but also like I'm going over it anyways. So if there's another way you want to do it, like you can do it that way as well. Alright, so I think I'm gonna try going over it now, but I think you guys are having some difficulty with it, which is fine. But it is a little bit difficult to grasp like the try catch thing at first. So for homework, I'm probably gonna post like some material on that just to like review. But I'll just try to show an example of how I would do it. So first it's saying like the way that they want you to do this is using a try catch, I'm pretty sure. So I would just use like try catch block like this. And then so basically I would just use a scanner because it's easier, but oh shoot. Okay, so first thing, just make a new scanner object. And the question is saying they want you to get user input, convert the input to a number, the input is not a number for answer. So I think I would just do like, I think first asking the user for like a number, so just like enter a number. And then we don't need to do that whole checking thing. I would just do like int x equals sc dot next. And then the thing was asking if it is a number, then you're just gonna print out oh, it doesn't say to actually do anything with input. So I'm just gonna say, so I'm just gonna make it catch the exception. So I think it was like mismatch input exception, if I'm not, if something like that. I don't. Yeah, input mismatch exception. And this was the wait. Oh wait, it's input mismatch. Oh shoot, I misspelled it. Oh wait, shoot. Yeah, I would just say exception E. Whatever exception is, it's probably just gonna be like an input mismatch exception. So I'm just gonna put like system dot print ln, and then it was saying like, what was it they wanted you to print? So it's like print out is not a valid input. So now just print out it is. That should work. I'm pretty sure. So I'm gonna enter like ABC, and then because it threw exceptions, it just says it is not valid input. Oh yeah, so someone said to put in chat after you're done. So yeah, I can put it in the chat. Because it doesn't actually say to do anything with the input, so I'm pretty sure that's all you need to do. It's gonna raise an exception when you put like a string or something here. So when it raises an exception in the try block, it's gonna look in the catch block and it sees there's an exception it can catch, and then it's just gonna print out it is not a valid input. Oh yeah, wait, I think it. Oh, I did wrong. Input. Yeah, so you can just like do it this way. Yeah, I think my syntax is not right, but like it should be like input mismatch exception, but because I don't remember the exact syntax for that, I'll just say exception and it works regardless. So because like sometimes you have to remember the specific like exception names, so like that's why the try catch thing is not like, you shouldn't use that for like everything. You should only use like try catch if it's like something that's like unexpected. Like you wouldn't use it for like a for loop, for like when a for loop ends or something. Oh, you have to type it like scanner with a capital S. If you want, you can could you screen share? Oh, wait. Oh, could you like copy and paste your code? Okay, so did you import the scanner class? Because like, so when you have to import the scanner class at the top of your like file, so like so like usually like there's gonna be like a red line under here. If you didn't import it, just like hover over it and then you can like click import. I'll try to like do it an example. Okay, wait. Okay, so let me get rid of all this stuff. So for example, like, is this what you're saying? Like it's like a red line over scanner. Yeah, so it says here scanner cannot be resolved to type is because you have to import the scanner class. So then if I click here, import scanner, I click on it and now it works because now you imported the scanner class. So you just have to like hover over it and click the import scanner class thing. So yeah, you can't actually use anything in a package until you import it. Okay, yeah, no problem. So yeah. So yeah, what I was saying is like there these types of exceptions, there's like checked exception, unchecked exception, and errors. So the Java like throwable class is the root class of Java exception hierarchy. And I don't think you guys know what inherited means, but like it's basically like it has like two subclasses. Like how do I explain this? So like think of it as like a tree, I guess. So like the top would be like the throwable, and then the like there's like two things that branch out, exception and error. So like these are like children of the throwable class. And the hierarchy is this, but I don't think you guys really need to know this because this is like you're probably not going to understand it. I think we should like focus more on like actual like the just like the try catch block stuff first because you don't need to know all this. These are just like the different exceptions. And then these are the errors. And they're all under the throwable class. So like we just did like we had an index out of bounds exception before, and then we had array index out of bounds exception, then we had arithmetic exception before, and then we also had like a IO exception. So these are like I'll like send this link right here for you guys to read in the chat. So it's just like the API for like the throwable class and like all the methods and stuff in it. So there's get message method, get stack trace, and print stack trace that we're looking at. So this is just the API. So let's look at the get stack. Okay, so this one is the method called get stack trace. Actually, no, that's not the right one. Okay, yeah, this one. No, that's not the right one either. Anyway, so basically this just provides I don't know where the exact like huge like description is, but this basically just provides like programmatic access to stack trace information, and you can print it by using like print stack trace. So like I don't know if you guys know what a stack is yet, but like it's like there's a stack is like basically like there's like blocks on top of each other. It's like a type of data structure, and then like when you want to remove something from the stack, the top thing gets popped off first. So it's like it goes like from like when you first added to what you last added, and when you remove something, the top one gets removed first. And then this is print stack trace. And just like basically it just like prints the throwable and the backtrace to the standard error stream, and then yeah, you can like read this yourself, but I don't think we need to really get too much into this because we should probably just be focusing more on like actually like being able to write try catch blocks first, because I feel like that's more important to know. But yeah, so you can read that on your own time, but like I think we should focus more on try catch blocks. So this is another example of a try catch block. So it's gonna try this code at the top, and then it's gonna catch the throwable, and then it's gonna print the stack trace. So I'll just show you guys what this does in Eclipse. So there was an exception, it was arithmetic exception, because here we had 74 and 0. They tried to divide 74 by 0. If you remember, you can't actually do that. It's gonna raise like a divide by 0 error or arithmetic exception. So then basically they because they had that exception, so then they caught the exception because we use this throwable E. Remember, throwable is like the top class. Exceptions and errors are all subclasses, so they're all under throwable. And then it caught the exception because we raised it here. We looked through the one catch block we had, and it had it here, so we caught it. So then once we caught it, we can actually execute this code under the catch block. So then we can print the stack trace, and that's like this stuff up here. And then we got the message, and then we just printed out the error, like, and then like this /n just means new line. This is not part of the code. So like /n just means a new line. So they printed out error, and then they printed out what the error was. So the error was divide by 0. It was a divide by 0 error. So then they printed that out here. And then this stack trace thing is like this stuff up here. So that's basically what this print stack trace does. It just prints like this stuff. So if you have any questions about that, just let me know. But this is like, that's basically how you read the try catch block. You always like first do the try block. So we're like trying out the code here. We clearly see that 74 divided by 0 does not work. So it's going to raise some sort of arithmetic exception. We look in the catch block we have. Now, if this didn't have the exception that we were looking for, it would like skip this code and it would not catch it. So it would not be good. But like we did catch the error here, so that's good. And then we execute this code. So the checked exceptions, the classes that directly inherit the throwable class except runtime exception and error are known as checked exceptions. So like the checked exceptions have to be handled by us basically. And these are like IO exceptions, and you don't really need to know what this is, but IO exception means input output exception. It usually has to do with like file IO, like when you're doing stuff with like files and stuff. And checked exceptions are checked at compile time. Unchecked exceptions, you actually don't have to handle. The JVM can handle it for you, the Java like virtual machine. So these are unchecked exceptions. The classes that inherit runtime exception are known as unchecked exceptions. So this is like arithmetic exception, null pointer exception. Null pointers, like when you have like, basically it's like pointing to nothing. Like you're supposed to like have something like an input or something, but there's just like, you didn't enter anything. That would be an example of a null pointer. Or like array index out of bounds, like if you're trying to find an index of array, but it just doesn't exist. And these are unchecked exceptions, and they're checked at runtime. And as we can see, the JVM can handle it for you. So you don't actually have to always do like handle these. And then an error is a irrecoverable or like out of memory error, virtual machine error, or assertion error. Okay, so we have like 5 minutes left. So I'm gonna see if we can do any of these exercises before time runs out, but yeah, wait. Okay, so I feel like this one's a bit long. So I'm gonna try to find an exercise that like we can do within the 4 minutes we have. And then I'm also gonna assign homework, and the homework's probably gonna be on try catch blocks. Okay, so I don't think we have time for this exercise, so I'm just gonna go over this first because I do want to explain the finally keyword more. So finally can be used to provide a block of code that's performed regardless. So it's like mission critical. It just happens regardless. The only times that, like some of the times if like to exit out, it would be like system.exit or something, which would make it not run. But like usually it pretty much always runs. Even if you have a return statement, the finally keywords, the stuff under it will run. So for example, like if we had like try something, but then we said like return, or like we had a return statement under a catch block and it got to the return statement, it would still execute the finally block basically. So that's like pretty much like it basically always executes. And it's not, but you're not required to put a finally block. It's just like if you want to. And it's actually like more to like finally block is more for like cleanup code. and it's usually executed by, it's usually more to like restore the program to like a legal state and like consistent state, so. Yeah, that's just an example of the syntax for the finally block. So it's always at the end. You never put the finally before like the try or the catch. It's always, the order is always try, catch, and then finally. So first we had the try block. We had an array called my numbers. It's just like 1, 2, 3. Then we printed out, we tried to print out the 10th index, but of course that doesn't exist. So it's gonna raise an exception. Then we look in the catch block and then we find that exception. So then we print out something went wrong. Then after this catch block, we will always like execute this. So we're always going to print release resources here. That's the order it goes in. It goes first catch, but then finally is always last. And finally pretty much always executes. Yeah, so this just another, it's just explaining exceptions further. There are many exception types in Java. There's arithmetic exception, found not found exception, like basically all this. You can also create your own exception. So you can make your own exception, but like we're not going to do that for now. So yeah. Oh, okay. I think we can try this quiz, but I think the syntax or the style was a little bit confusing, so I'm just gonna try to like make it like more readable. Oh, jeez. I guess the way people do like the braces depends on the person, but I feel like usually the general style is more like this. So actually we only have like 1 minute left, but I think that we'll have to say this for next time, but just try to think about this. I'm gonna read through it first. So the first part of the try block, it's gonna throw a new test. Then the catch block is saying they're catching the test T, and then it's saying they're gonna, if we catch, so if the exception thrown is this exception, then they're gonna execute this code, which is to print out got the test exception. Finally, no matter what, even if this is not catching the exception or like we didn't catch anything or whatever, the finally block is going to execute, and then you're going to print inside finally block. So it is 7 p.m. now, so class is over, but I will post homework and I'll probably post this quiz question as well for you guys to try out. And I think next time we'll also continue to review try catch blocks. But if you don't have any questions, you are free to go. But otherwise, if you have questions, please stay for a bit and I can help you out with that. But otherwise, you can go if you don't have any exceptions. Or if you don't have any questions. Oh, wait, Lucas, do you have a question?
Okay, thank you, Emily. Let me
Oh,
just
okay.
stop the recording first.
Okay.